Well, welcome back to another week here. We're still recording from the last week, but we're here in New Hampshire, and I'm Pastor Josh.
And I'm Katie, the Children's Discipleship Director.
And back with us again is...
Ann Kohl.
Ann Kohl.
Nice to meet you.
Look, we want you to subscribe, what you like, but if you were with us last week, or if you weren't with us last week, you really do need to go and listen to last week, because we're diving into a thing called the Enneagram, understanding ourselves and what that is. And if you were with us last week, we'd love to hear what you thought about it. Drop a line or say something in the comments, maybe something you've learned or looked into. This week, we're going to continue this conversation, and I would like to move the conversation into, okay, we barely scratched the surface, which I know you said there's a lot. To me, it was a lot. It is a lot. We barely scratched the surface, but how do I take that and make it practical to myself every day, but also in this time of year to, like, I got to be in gatherings. I got to be around people. And there's this healthy, there's a healthy side of me that it can be good around people. And no matter what number you are, there's an unhealthy side of me that can be bad around people. Yeah. And one of the things we were talking about in between the two recordings here, we were talking about how this is, and I really feel it. This is really deep in the sense of, like, emotionally deep. I can do a DISC profile. I can do an MMPI. I just do the test. It doesn't feel deep. It's like, oh, I'm an introvert. I'm an extrovert. I do this. I do it. Okay, I'm good. But to understand the Enneagram, like I said, it is. We've talked about that. It's levels that are deeper. And
motivations.
Motivations. Right. What lies behind this? What comes out? And you're talking about, the instinctual survival and who we are. And I thought of my own process as I've learned this over the last several years. In order to fully begin to see these things, the scariest part for me is I have to be vulnerable enough to see this. That's true. To see that I sit mostly on the head side. And I'm very heavy on that. And to become healthy, you got to work on that. But you have to be vulnerable enough to say, oh, I sit with anxiety as my base, and it really is. And then to be okay with that. My heart side is this, or my gut is this, and I've never trusted my gut. Now I'm kind of understanding the why, and not just because of my type. I'm understanding the why because of things that have happened in my life. When I was a child, it kind of led to this, and this is my response to that. But the only way I even got close to begin this journey, and really, I think, it helps me a lot. So that's why I picked on you and brought you in. Is I had to come to a place to say, I'm willing to be vulnerable with myself and call out that I am a 6, and there's very unhealthy parts of that, and call that out. Mm-hmm. But there's very healthy parts of that, and look towards that. Mm-hmm. And for any number, you could do that. Whether you're a 2 or an 8 or a 4, like, oh, there's some. I've been sitting in the unhealthy parts. Didn't even know that for years. I didn't even know I was anxious until 9 or 10 years ago. Whatever. So like, sure. Whoa, and that's a whole learning thing. So as we move forward today, I just want people to know that this is a harder thing to do. It's not like you're going to go take an online test, which they're there.
Yeah, and you can.
And you can, and you're just going to be like, okay, I'm good to go interact with people. It's just like, okay, I know what to dive into a little bit more. It's quite a journey, and I'm still learning about that.
Yes.
So as we enter that, let's just go a big picture review. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this will let me know if we've learned this. There are 9 types, but they're broken into 3 sections. You have the gut section, you have the heart section, and you have the mind.
Yes. And
each of those, there's three numbers. Yeah. Okay. And I always find it funny, maybe it's just the way I work, is that it doesn't start with number 1, it starts with 891. Yeah. Which I'm like, it's so weird. But it does, it does.
Who thought that? Yeah.
It's my brain. 891, that's your gut, and there's different parts within there of how we interact and what we do.
Styles.
And then there's 2, 3, 4 in the heart section, and 5, 6, 7. But you have a piece of each of those in you to be a whole and complete. Because the idea is, I think we said last week, that Christ, God, in a full and complete person, has all of these in perfect unity, in perfect health.
There's actually a book written by someone who took the Enneagram types and showed examples in Scripture of Jesus in the Gospels exemplifying each one of these. It's fascinating.
That is fascinating. Really good. And so, like, the goal of a believer, not the goal, the call of a believer, is that the Holy Spirit is sanctifying us. So the whole thing is like, You can't do this on your own anyway.
No way.
You need the power of Christ in you. But to be a whole person, we don't just operate with our heads or with our hearts, it's all of it. Yes. And so, we're kind of balancing this and learning each piece as we go along. So is that fair?
It's excellent.
Yes. I'm a good student.
You are a good student. Gold star for the day.
It's like I'm a gold star for the day.
Very nice.
So help us go from, okay, last week you gave us an entire Niagara Falls flood of information. How do I go from that to scratching the surface a little more to myself, but how's this going to help me, not just in my spiritual walk, because I think that's important, but we've kind of said the Holy Spirit's working through this, and I really appreciate that you told people, look, if you're nervous about it, this isn't right, or consciously you're like, I just don't want to, then don't. And that's okay. First and foremost, I think you would say is be in the Word and allow Christ to move you.
Your life will not be less rich if you spend more time in the Holy Scriptures.
Right.
So there we go.
That's very clear. And we want to make that very clear. Yes. And then at the same time, if you do this, you continue being in the Word and allow the Scriptures to inform what you're learning or where your sources are. Because not all sources are Christian sources, and they don't need to be.
No.
But we can filter it through God's Word.
Yes.
So let's take that and say, okay, how do I do that? Scratch that surface, but how does it help me interact with the world at large?
Right.
Christmas time, office parties, bigger groups.
Yeah.
I find it's helped me with family gatherings where people are like, oh, it's going to be a little tense. Well, you can, at least in general, begin to use that.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I do want to preface by just saying that this system, Enneagram, is best used in a mentor-mentoree relationship that goes on for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so originally it was meant to be a practice where you're in deep knowing with someone else who knows you well, loves you, and can kind of see where God is showing up in your life, but you're aware of your personality structure, strengths and weaknesses, and you kind of move along through life. What's happened with Enneagram is it's kind of become a trivial, people use the phrase parlor game. It can be, what's your type? Oh, haha, I'm a 2. I wear a t-shirt that says 2. I think there have been hiring practices where it's like, we're only looking for this Enneagram type.
Oh.
And I want to say, don't do that. I mean,
good.
Yeah. Don't do that. This is sacred. This is deep. Let's respect God at work in who we are. We talked about this. This involves family of origin. This involves your personality structure that was given to you by God as a gift when you were made in the secret place in your mother's womb. This is the unfolding of your true identity in Christ, but it's broken.
Yeah.
And that brokenness creates pain and suffering for us and for others. And so let's be curious, grace-filled, tender, and thoughtful. So one thing we never do is we never go up to someone and say, oh, you're a type such and such, and I know you are, and I've been watching. And nor do you necessarily need to disclose your type. And one of the things I want to say about this that I didn't say last week is that you don't want to be more of your type. These are defense mechanisms.
Yeah.
If you actually want to be less of your type, but more of the essence of how God made you.
Yes.
So there's an essence of 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that will unfold as that personality structure that's constricted falls away.
Right.
We talk about it as like scaffolding. In your family of origin, in order to cope and survive, you created these styles and you overuse these styles. And it's like when you're going to paint a building, you erect all this scaffolding. Well, it's once the building's painted, which is like when you're emancipated, you grow up, you're an adult, people leave the scaffolding on. It's hard to see you through the scaffolding. Yeah. You don't see the scaffolding. Okay. Now we're gonna deconstruct that scaffolding, and how do we do that? And here's the point.
Yeah.
It begins with self-awareness. And God made humans to be the only creature that can think about what they're thinking about. We can self-observe.
Yeah.
And that is a fascinating thing. We don't even realize we're doing it all the time. But we do it from the inside, okay? And we don't see perfectly, as Jesus said. We tend to see the speck in someone else's eye. We can see their broken personality patterns very quickly. We are not recognizing, call it scaffolding, call it a log in our own eye. We're blind.
Yeah.
We are. But we can kind of begin to get in touch with what is going on within myself. For some people, that might be to just accept that feelings are okay.
Yeah.
Feelings are okay. Feelings are not going to harm you. Feelings are not going to overwhelm you. Feelings are a gift from God. They come with a message to help you.
Yeah.
So let's just ask ourselves throughout the day, what do I feel right now?
Yeah.
And make no judgment on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry. Okay. And sometimes journaling can be helpful
Mm-hmm.
here if you have the time. But if you don't, just checking in with yourself a little
Yeah.
bit. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? And what are my instincts? What is my gut telling me right
Yeah.
now? So just beginning to get in tune with that and seeing that as a positive.
Yeah.
That's the start. So self-observation. And then once you do learn some of these styles, you catch yourself in motion.
Yeah.
You're like, why did I just say that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That does kind of line up with the anxiety style.
Yeah.
One thing that type 6s will often do as a way of protecting is they'll couch things. So they'll say, well, if this doesn't work out, then, or you guys might not like this, but
Yeah.
such and such. So it's kind of a way of saying, have mercy on me. Be gentle with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Instead of just giving the opinion, this is my thought. It's like
That's the type 8. The type 8 will just, boom,
that's my
there
thought.
it is.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but being self-aware is a hard thing.
It's
It's
discouraging.
It can be discouraging.
Why is it discouraging?
Yeah.
Because there's so much that's wrong. See,
Yeah.
that's the inner critic again.
Yeah. And I think the thing, too, is recognizing that all that's wrong is covered. There's no condemnation there. Not for myself either. And I am not worthy because I'm good.
Right.
Although I am made good, but I'm worthy because he achieved my worthiness.
Yeah.
But we know this, but we need to receive this. And so
Over and over
thinking
again.
about how we talk to ourselves. I struggled for a long time with an excoriating inner critic. I mean, it was like, wow. And, I would never speak to someone else that way. But I felt like I needed it so that I could be better.
Mm-hmm.
If I let off on that, self-flagellation,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I would disappoint disappoint myself or not be the best Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this fear, and yet who do you think wants us to criticize and tear ourselves down? The accuser,
Yeah.
the brethren.
Yeah.
He's like, go for it. Have
Yeah.
fun all day long because I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
And God's saying, I can help you grow and improve by being a gentle teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a gentle teacher. I'm not a harsh critic.
You can still be a critic on yourself, but not excoriating.
You can. Or be open to receiving what can improve.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say type 1s. Most type 1s have the best intentions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
See that.
God sees that and he accepts that.
Yeah.
He does help us improve, but he accepts it. So those are just some caveats about how we approach Enneagram. And I would say that going into social situations, when it comes to holidays, I think we all have a longing for home.
Mm.
We do. We want home. It's really, in my Father's house are many mansions.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, my Father and I will come and dine with you. It's really the feast of the Lamb at the end of time. And, we know that it's paradise lost. Within us, eternity is placed, and there's a sense that we were all in Eden.
Yeah.
And we've tasted community with the Lord, peace with animals and nature, the ability to be with others in harmony and joy.
Yeah.
But we know that it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
So that longing can create an exaggerated pressure on relationships, particularly at the holidays.
Yeah.
Or even making your office have to be happier and better than it is,
Yeah.
or all your relatives be okay with each other. But when we know that our home is with Christ here
Mm-hmm.
already, it can take the pressure off a little bit. So some people are, have really high expectations for this holiday is going to be great. It's going to go this, and I hope it works out. And if not, I'm going to be really sad.
Yeah.
And just, I think preparing ahead and taking time to say, what are my expectations?
Mm-hmm.
Are they realistic? Where am I putting my hope for home? and the feelings of warmth and comfort and being known and accepted and all of that. So start with that, and know that it's met in Christ, and really lean into him as that comfort that's always with you. So then when you go to an office party or a family gathering, you're not coming in needing to get something out of it. You're coming in much freer because your needs have been met.
As you
Truly.
say, full.
You're full.
Yeah.
You're full.
Yeah.
And so you're actually then able to give a little more.
You're able to lean into one of your areas that would help in.
You are.
Yeah, I think some people, without thought, we just go to these things. We may worry about it. I want this.
Yeah.
But if we don't do anything like what you're saying, then we go in with an expectation that might not be realistic. Managing expectations is very important. I think a lot of our outbursts or disappointment afterwards or depression comes from not an expectation not being met, either in ourselves. I thought I was going to be accepted for this, or people were all going to like the game that I brought.
Or even ask me, how are you?
Yeah, people were going to ask me
people
a
don't even
question,
ask you.
depending on where you are, and this need, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You had this expectation, and it wasn't met, or it wasn't perceived to be met. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Perception, how we perceive things.
Yeah.
But to sit back and say, okay, what can I expect? Like in an office party, a gathering, what can I expect? Really, one of a group of people, some who don't even acknowledge that there's a creator, who wouldn't even see these as parts. So, okay, well, maybe that's not my place to put upon them the growth of the creator in them. Like maybe I just want to introduce the creator to them. That's a whole other thing as well.
That's right.
And same at family gatherings, where you might have, a whole bunch of people in the family are believers, and then some are not. And so I put expectations on everyone to just understand what Christmas is, and some are like, I don't know, Christmas is just presents and fun, and they don't even think of Christ. And so I come in with the wrong expectations, or like I say, expectations of myself.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go this way. I think I'm going to enjoy these conversations, or I haven't seen so-and-so, and they're going to want to talk to me, and we're going to. And maybe you don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know what's happening. Maybe that's not the time or place.
Right. That's right. Yes. Yes.
To do that. Yeah.
Yes. So I think all of those, it's being mindful. And I love to go back to the instincts a little bit when it comes to gatherings, because that's the first way to begin to recognize yourself and others. And then we can talk a little bit around the horn about what to look for. But basically, your self-preservation types, when they come into a room or a party, you're going to see them usually seated in a comfortable chair. They want to know where's the food. They're going to be near the food. They're going to be near the bathroom. There is a desire for ease and comfort, relaxation. And they might want to find a friend or two that they can easily, comfortably connect with. And then it's like, can we go now?
Yeah.
We did our thing. It was pleasant. Let's go.
I'm done.
I want to go home because I'm more comfortable at home. My house is my castle. We check the box. I care about it.
Yeah.
A lot of self-preservation people too, I want to say, you would think that social would care more about aunts and uncles and extended family, but self-pres is the place that cares about that because they're blood. So you'll find self-preserving people will want to bring the fruitcake to Aunt Martha, check in on grandma, that, and there's a lot of care and focus around that. But there was a story of a couple. She was a self-preserving instinct stronger. We all have all of them. And he was a social, and it was time for his reunion, maybe 20-year reunion. And she was a lawyer. She'd been working all week, and all she could think about all week was on Friday, I just want to curl up with fire with my cats, and I want to read a book, and just get my feet up. I just want to, calm down and chill. And the husband was so excited to introduce his wife to all his buddies from 20 years ago. And she had done this kind of thing before where he wanted to go out for drinks afterwards or whatever and have even more fun. And it's like it never ended. And she never felt like she was released to then go. And so as it got closer on Thursday, she's like, I'm sorry. I've had a hard week.
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
I can't do it.
I can't go to the party. And he's like, what? I knew you were going to say this. You do this. I'll let you back out. It means so much to me. I wanted to show you off to my friends, and now you don't even want to go. And she's like, yeah, but it never ends. I'm standing there forever. I've said everything I have to say, and then you want to go out further, and it stresses me out when I don't know when we can be done. And so they started looking at the instincts, and they realized, okay, you're not trying to upset me. You're not trying to let me down.
Right.
We have some very strong visceral needs.
Mhm.
All right, how can we do this? So they decided, all right, I will come. I'm very tired, but I want to honor my promise to come.
Mhm.
And I will come until 9 o'clock. And then, am I free to go home and put my feet up? And he's like, absolutely. I will not ask you to come out for, meet more people.
Yeah.
That's great. And then he's like, and I'll, you can stay in bed on Saturday morning even longer, and I'll bring you coffee in bed or something. And it was like life-changing for them.
So the self-awareness of both of them, but also this is a couple that be more intimate, being vulnerable to talk to each other about this instead of just the perception of like, oh, you're bailing on me.
Right. You always do this.
As we're learning
Making assumptions.
as we're learning to ask my
Yes.
family, what do you like? Why? What's the feeling behind that? Why are you like? Why? And when you ask the feeling, the why, what are you feeling? Like, why are you doing that? I think this stuff will come out, and it does make a difference. But she could have, in an example, started talking about that on Monday. I see this coming on Friday, but maybe next time they will. I really enjoy having a social, and you're this, and I need this space. Well, let's talk through this already.
Yes.
And that self-awareness helps as they approach any party, any gathering.
Yes.
Time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
And self-process do get drained, and they do need that time to reconnoiter and recover at home, and take care of themselves and their needs. And it's not a value judgment.
No.
And I think, and the socials,
That's
it's not
important.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not better or worse. This is how you're literally wired in your cells.
Yeah.
This is just, it's like a tiger and a lamb.
Mhm.
This is just what we are.
Yeah.
So for good care and nurture of someone in your life, learn to recognize their instinct and help support it.
Yeah. Because if not, you're basically saying you're on empty.
Yeah,
You're like a
on
motor.
empty.
You're like a motor, and the
Absolutely.
oil's all out. Like it's
Yeah.
drained out of there. But I want you to keep moving and come over here.
That's
You're
what's
going to burn
happening.
yourself out.
That's what's happening.
Or you say, oh, you had an oil drain, and how about you can make it to here, and then you go home and fill up.
Absolutely.
And let it rejuvenate you, and you have to have that relationship with someone to do that.
Yeah.
So you can't do this with just everybody.
You can't, but what I want to say, and when you go into a party, you can actually start to recognize people a little bit. And so when you see folks kind of talking about, oh, I wonder where the food is, or I wonder if they'll have some more food, or, oh, it's really cold in here, or the music's too loud, maybe we can have them turn it down. And you'll be like, okay, there might be a stronger self-preservation instinct. I'm not saying we box anyone, but you can realize like they're probably going to want to talk about things around hearth and home, gardening, DIY projects, family members. If you know a little bit about them, you could say, hey, I knew your Aunt Jean was struggling with cancer. How is she doing?
Yeah.
You're going to hear a lot about that because it's going to be really important to them. And why are you doing that? Are you doing that because you're going to kind of work the room? You're doing it because you care.
Yeah.
You're doing it because you genuinely want to know, but you want to do it in a way that means something to them.
Yeah.
And back to those instincts, like when you're known by someone and accepted, I don't think there's any greater form of love.
Yeah.
Really. And so I happen to be a social instinct. My husband is not. And he gets drained. But for him to say, hey, you stay longer. I'll go outside and walk around. As a social, sometimes I'm like, no, I want you right here with me. I'm going to show you off
I'll
the
love
world.
you and hold you and pet you.
Yes,
I want
yes.
both worlds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But to realize it's not a statement about you, it's just how you're wired. But socials need social.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if they're married to a self-pres or even that intimate one-to-one type, the intimate one-to-one type's like, come be with me and let's go have dinner together and let's go do this. And we're exclusive. So letting all the social people in on that feels threatening.
Yeah.
And like, what are you doing? And for the sexual or intimate type, it's not betrayal by any means, but it's like, why do you have to talk to all those people? Aren't I just the most
Aren't I
important?
enough?
Aren't I enough?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you can realize, you can take the value out of that and be like, you are enough.
Yeah.
And I love you so much, and nothing can replace our one-on-one time. I'm wired. God made me actually to have a lot of relationships and to be out with the team and the group, and I'm good at it. And you are good at going really deep with someone or certain people. And other people are really good at maintaining the things of life that keep structures going.
Yeah.
If we didn't have people who were taking care of finances and had the ability to do that and care a lot about, where would we be?
Right. Yeah.
They're all needed. So when you go into the party, you might notice the self-pres types, and then you might notice the social types, because they're going to be, they walk into a room and they immediately know who's in charge.
Who's in charge?
Where's the power?
Mm-hmm.
They'll tap into that. Who do I want to talk to? A social will leave a party and be like, I didn't connect with this person. Oh no, you know. So you'll see that, and you'll be able to talk to a social, and you'll realize when the social says, "So nice talking to you," boop, and they go to someone
Moving
else.
on.
You don't
Don't be offended.
Don't be offended.
Don't be.
You could even say
What
to
did
them,
I say? What did I do?
Yeah, you could even say like, "Hey, I think such and so is supposed to come to the party. Hope you get to talk to them."
Yeah.
And just enjoy supporting the vibe on being social. And another thing you can do for a social is tell them something positive that someone else said about them in the group.
Interesting.
That is like, oh, I'm loved. That I'm thought of well. Because we talked about that heart center, which is sort of represents. There's a desire to be seen as appealing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally, the sexuals, you're going to find them because they'll lock in with one person usually that says something or has something to say that's creative that they really enjoy. So if you happen to be locked in with a one-to-one and you're like, I'm either self-pres, you're draining a lot out of me right now. You're draining me. You're like, you're boring into me. Your eyes are going, you know.
Yeah, we're surrounded by a bunch of people, and I'm not going to expose my soul to you.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Like,
what's up with this? You know, you could find someone that you know has something in common with you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know what? They really enjoy working on cars.
Yeah. Have you met so and so?
Have you met so and so? Or just wonderful conversation with you. Thank you so much. You know, and then move along. But just realize their need for going deeper.
Yeah.
They're gonna have
those. Correct me if I'm wrong. You might find if you're in a room or see, you might see them off to the corner already with somebody, and you're like
oblivious to everyone
I have
else.
no clue. And maybe the two people have really connected, and it's like they're in their own little world.
They are in their own
and
world.
I think I've seen stuff like that, and I walk by, and I was like, oh, I'd like to say hi, or maybe I should. Like,
I don't want to interrupt.
They're there, and I realize like they're talking, they don't even, and I'm like, I'm just gonna walk away. I'm just gonna,
Yes.
They didn't even know I was there, and it's
Yes.
okay. But
Yes.
that's I didn't. Now I could probably pinpoint it to your words, but you just recognize it. Like, oh, they don't need the rest of the world.
No.
And it's not you.
No,
and it's not you.
Whatever is opened up, and they've been able to just channel, and and it goes.
Yeah. And I want to just bring this back. Let's just look at Jesus, right? You know, we look at Jesus, and he did give himself away a lot, but he did need to sleep on the boat. Like, he needed to take care of himself. There were women who followed to help take care of his needs. He had to stay alive until it was time for him to die, and we certainly see the social. He surrounds himself with that trio, right, of his closest, and then he's got the 12, and then he's got the 70, and then he's got a couple hundred others. We don't even know how many. It was a social movement.
Yeah.
And he cared about the group.
They also say often he went off on his own.
Oh, just to pray, yeah.
Just
self-preservation and sexual and intimate. And and then you see that intimacy, I and the Father are one.
Yeah.
And he looks up when he prays a lot. He looks into heaven because he's seeing his intimate.
Yeah.
And, before he makes bread or, divides the loaves or whatever. And so you see all three all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you were talking about that, I thought of Jesus and the woman with the healing, the blood issue and the healing. Surrounded by a crowd. They're all going off to this place. And he's going to do something. But when she touches and he turns to talk to her, even in the reading of it, it's almost as if the rest of the world has fallen apart, and he has given her all of his attention in that moment to what she needed and who she was. And you don't hear, when he talks to her, you don't hear much conversation. We're not shared what else is going on. I think that's because everyone's just like, oh, what's he doing? And he's just like, I'm here in this moment. And I think that's in some ways why we talk like Christ represents the healthiest part of all of these things. And
that's right.
The Holy Spirit moves us to be Christ-like. So sometimes it's not bad to sit with someone like that, even though it's not your strength or your area. Right. It's in you.
Yeah, it is.
But it's harder. It's just harder.
Yeah.
And I've been in places. Like sometimes I'm there because I'm a pastor. I'm in some ways forced to be. Forced might be the wrong word. It's my job.
Required.
Someone comes.
Required's a good word.
Sometimes people do that in between services, and they come and it's like this emotion comes out of them, and it just needs to come out. And I'm not mentally prepared. I'm not spiritually prepared. When people usually come with that, it's like they're coming to the office, or I would need to share it. And I pray before that happens, but at the end of a sermon, everyone's going in the Red Fellowship. You know, we have all these people moving, and someone comes up, and it just comes out of them. And I literally have to, in that moment, I look at them because I'm not very good at, I try and look at them. I do my best to hear what they're saying.
Right.
I'm not very good at that. But all I'm saying is, oh, God, help me to allow their need to be met right now. Because I know I'm not good. My immediate instinct is, this is the wrong time and place. Let's go over here. You can
make an appointment.
I'll talk to you later. You know, send me an email. I always tell people that. You know, like, but there are moments where it's like kind of like the woman with the issue. It's like, it doesn't matter if the whole crowd is around you, and people will come up to me during that time, and you know that there are people who come up. Some of them, and they want to say something. They want to do this, but this in that moment, not always, but can be that important, and I just completely ignore them. I don't know what they think about that. And in my brain, I'm like, don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. I fight with it in my brain. But it's that sense of like, this isn't natural for me, but this is very important for this person. And I, at least at that moment, I sense this is the right thing and right time. Usually when that's done, I might interact with some people. I will probably just go sit in my office for a minute.
Yeah, just to regroup.
I got to feel, because in my case, it's not like I'm at a party. You know, like I have to come back into the group or go to the next service.
Exactly.
But go there and, okay, take a moment, breathe a little, quiet, get rid of the noise, and then I come back.
Yes.
So it's interesting that in Jesus you kind of see these things.
You do, and he is at street level, and he's dealing with everyone. But I think a lot of times with the intimate or one-to-one, especially if they're sharing something maybe that the sermon evoked in them, there's an I need something from you.
Yes.
It's not just I'm sharing, it's I need something, and it's deep.
Yeah.
And so most of us, and I think sixes would be very in touch with this, I don't have what you need.
Yeah.
I do not have it. I don't even know how to answer this right now. But then you're like, but Lord, you live within me. You have what this person needs. You know, and I sort of like my ego peels back, and then, you know, it comes as you pray. The Lord provides in our weakness, but it's daunting.
Oh, it's scary. It's the scariest thing.
Well,
for me it is.
I'm sure.
You know, because I don't have the answer. I don't have enough, and as my style, I want to explore all these different options, or maybe look up some stuff. I don't have any of that.
Right.
And my best practice at that point is I practice reflective listening. So I just repeat what I think they've said. Is this what you mean? Is this what you're feeling? I must make you feel this way. If I get a reflective of affirmations of that, I don't know if it's good or bad. Part of it is I'm trying to shorten the time. Yeah. Maybe that's not right, but I'm trying to shorten the time.
Sure.
And then I will move to, I don't have an answer, but let's pray and allow God to meet us here. Yeah. And I'll just pray over them without it, and pray doubt over it. Like, I have doubts, they have doubts, whatever it is, and just be honest.
Sure.
And process that prayer with them, and offer to meet with them at other times.
Sure. Or outsource it.
Or outsource it. I've done that. I've done both. And usually they'll come and meet one more time. But next time when they'll meet, it's usually like, that was everything I needed. I didn't.
It's amazing.
Because what they mostly needed was to be heard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
by
that
the pastor,
connection. Yeah.
Because you do have an authority, and
I do have that.
You have you're ordained.
Yeah.
Right? And that means you're consecrated for the work that you're in.
Right.
So God has given you an anointing to do what you need to do. Whatever style you bring to that, you're still a Christian in the body.
Yes.
And God will meet your need.
Yeah, it's amazing how He works in that. You know,
I bet. It must be faith growing for you.
It is.
As scary as it can be.
It's very scary. And I didn't lean into that, like I say, most often about 8 or 9 years ago, starting healthier in all these ways. So it's in some ways newer to me, you know, only 8 or 9 years of doing this, being healthy and being willing to do that. But it's that vulnerability we come back to. Like, I gotta be vulnerable. Like, God, I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
I don't even know. And sometimes that's one of the few times I might trust the gut.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not natural for me to trust my gut here and be like, okay, lock everyone out. Obviously, this is the right, let's go with this and see what God does.
So I do encourage you around the type 6 that there's something called, sixes have a sixth sense. We all do, and I mean this in the best way, but like as a gift that God gives us. When sixes can relax and know that God has provided for their safety and security, whatever it is, that ability to know something with clarity does come forth. I don't know if you've ever had a time when that's happened. I have one particular family member there have been a couple times when, in spite of all of the anxiety that she deals with, she just speaks. It like breaks through, and it's like, this is what we need to do, or this is what I see, and we've learned to trust that. And
I've definitely had moments like that.
Yeah.
Even before I was healthy, and there was some moments like that, and moved entire things.
It's pretty crazy.
It's just like,
yeah.
I had a moment like that at a church where I was just the intern who later became an associate, and they had like a falling out between two pastors and this big issue, and they communicated it really bad, and I walked into the meeting where the elders and the pastors were talking, and one pastor was talking about this, and I said, you're doing this wrong. This is what we need to do. And I just knew it. I knew it from before I drove there. And processed the whole thing. And they just said, that's good. So you'll preach this Sunday, and this is what you're going to do? Yeah.
Okay.
But it was just very, very clear. Like, this is.
And that's a beautiful thing.
And they actually listened. So I guess that's good.
That's very good. You spoke with authority because you were integrated.
Yeah.
You weren't just here.
I didn't even know I was being healthy at the time,
online.
but for a moment there, I was like, everything was like.
It's beautiful to see. Yeah, it's really special. So going to family parties, activities, think about your expectations. Realize that God meets your needs for the longing we have for home.
Yeah.
And we can carry that everywhere we go, in broken places, in healthy places. Look for the instincts. I think that's the easiest way.
The bigger three.
Yeah, the bigger three. I think it's easier. And get in touch with your own. Yeah. Right? Figure it out. Because you might say, I don't want to stay here forever. I just want to check the box and get home to my own, beautiful nativity scene and Christmas tree and all of that. But I still need to be going to this party. If you're going to go quickly around the horn, I would say we're going to start at the 8.
Yeah.
One thing about 8s is they often speak in commands. They'll speak just in these authoritative sentences. They love someone who has enough confidence to hang with them. 8s really want to connect socially. They're looking for like-minded people who are strong enough to spar a little bit with an opinion. Yeah. But don't take it personally if an 8 says something strong. Yeah. Or debates with you or questions you. Yeah. 8s like to unmask people who are fake. So if they sense that you're not being genuine, they're going to poke at that. Yeah. They love to tease. They might call you a nickname that they only have for you. Yeah. That's a form of love for an 8. So maybe you're getting upset because, your uncle calls you this name that he used to call you when you were 3. Yeah. See that as a form of endearment. And 8s love life. I mean, when they like something, they just want a whole bunch of it. Yeah. So they can be pretty fun to party with, actually. Yeah. The 9 is definitely going to want peace and harmony, and you're going to see them working to get that in a group. And so, try not to be confrontational with a 9. But if a 9 in a group is like, if they're saying, hey, what are we going to order? Let's order out, or where are we going to get our hors d'oeuvres from? A lot of times the 9s, whatever you want. Oh, whatever you want. I don't care. Yeah, because they just want it to have the harmony. But sometimes they don't know, but sometimes they do know. And so if you're in a party situation or in a family, you could be like, you know what? What if you could have a choice? Yeah. Would you do Chinese or Italian? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Which one? Yeah. Oh, maybe I kind of feel like Italian. Italian it is! Yeah, yes, we're going to do Italian. So kind of be an advocate for them and help them come out and start to state what they like without fear of there being a broken connection. Right. That's good. And being honored. Because 9s sometimes feel like people don't see them. Part of that's because they pull themselves out. Yeah. But the other thing is they don't feel that they're worthy of it. So help them know they're worthy. The type 1s are usually organizing. They're helping because they should. Yeah. They know they should. It is very much a Martha in the scripture. Yeah. And sometimes they're a little wound up and they really want to relax, but there's so much in the details of how things should go. And type 1s will always notice it's a God-given thing, but it's also challenging. What is wrong in a situation? Yes. They're going to, even if it's something that's just off a little bit, their eye goes to that because they want to improve it. Yeah. But let me tell you what. When can they ever relax? Ever. Yeah. So a lot of times they say that the only time one will relax is if they're on vacation because they're outside of their normal realm and their role in that is to have fun. Yeah. And they do have a lot of connection to a 7, and we haven't gone into that, but I'll just tell you that really ones, I think when they were children, liked to play.
Yeah.
And they felt free to play and just be a child. And so whatever you can do, even if you hear a 1 saying, I should have, and I should, it's just like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy you've gone above and beyond.
Yeah,
and, relaxing into the serenity prayer, the full serenity prayer is beautiful for type 1. Accepting this world as it is, not as I would have it be. And being reasonably happy in this life and recognizing that even brokenness is in the plan of God and there's perfection in what's wrong.
Yeah.
Because he works it all for his purposes.
Yeah.
And so that can help relax a 1. But another way you can help a 1 is be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a 1 feel like, why am I the only one doing this all the time? Nobody else is picking up the mantle here. Co-labor with the 1.
Yeah.
Just be like, can you go sit? I will take care of this. I recognize that you're right. It does need to be taken care of. And everybody else in the room is, feet up like, this is great. A great party. Meanwhile, the 1 is like burdened, with all that had to be done. And so help. Just help.
I found with some ones that I know, I ask, what can I do that is helpful?
Yeah.
Because maybe it's preservation. I used to just do a lot of things, but they're not always helpful. You've had a 4-year-old. It's like, I'll do this. And you're like, no, don't do that. It could cause me more work.
I know.
Right.
So what can I do that is helpful? What is most important?
Right.
Okay, we see 10 things. What's most important that will actually take us up?
Yeah.
I'll work on this one.
Yeah.
I think that is a good way when you recognize that, because you're putting it back on them.
Yeah.
To direct that,
Yes.
or if they see where you're at. I got all these things. I said, maybe as a 1, I ask you, what do you think is the best order so I'm most efficient about this?
Yeah, and
they would love to tell you that.
Too.
Oh, I'll tell you how to be efficient about that, because I know me, I'm gonna end up doing this backwards and spending more time on this. But if you give me the order,
because ones have a right way to do everything.
Yeah,
and it's internal to them, but they will not allow themselves to deviate from that standard of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's difficult when you don't, maybe even just load the dishwasher a certain way. But if you're at a party and you're coming alongside to assist, which will, number 1, just be a huge blessing. Because think about, what did Martha say to Jesus? Can you ask my sister to come help me?
Just to help me.
They need help, right? But they do want it in a certain way. So it could be, she says, oh, could you lay those napkins out on the table before people come? And you see like some are red and some are green. It's like, do you want me to lay them in a fan? Do you want different? Ask the details.
Color.
Yes. What
how do you want them laid out?
How do you want them laid out?
Yeah. I can do that.
Or another way with the 1 is, can you show me a model of what you want, and I'll repeat that.
Yeah.
So that, and then because the 1s are great teachers and natural teachers, they'll be happy to do that, and they found a really nice systematic way of showing you how to do it.
But as opposed to just like going to set the table because they need it done, and then they come back and have to fix every single place to be the way.
And even if they didn't have to fix it,
they want to.
They want to. Because they want it to be just so.
Yeah.
And that feels calming and relaxing to have it just so.
Good.
So the 2, you're going to see the 2 buzzing around, helping everybody. And not that everybody can help. So I don't mean that only 2s are helpers, but there's going to be a lot of deferring to you. What do you want? The greatest thing you can do for 2 is help take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And ask them about them. So sometimes I've been in conversation with the 2, and it's just like, the whole time I was meeting with them, they just kept asking me these great questions, and I just kept indulging. I'll tell you about this. And they're like, oh, nice time, see you later. And I thought,
I never asked about them. Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you'll try, and they'll deflect back to you, and they'll try, and they'll deflect back to you, and you're like, stop. I want to know about you. And I'll tell you that the 2s don't want to be in touch with their need. Mm-hmm. And why is that? They're afraid they'll be disappointed.
Yeah. They're
afraid that being as needy as they are, that number 1, they won't be appealing enough to be helped. Mm-hmm. That they'll actually feel that lonely pain of no one came to my aid. Yeah. So rather, I'll just launch into coming to your aid all day long. Yeah. And so really nurturing a 2. 2s like to nurture others, but they need nurturing. Yeah. And they sometimes fry themselves out. So giving them a chance.
So this is one where I see him washing the dishes, and
you're going to see it.
You go up next to him, I'll wash with you, and usually I've found when they're doing something and you do it alongside, if you ask then, it's like there's the defenses down and they're willing to share a little, oh, how's it been going with this? As you're going, I'm putting it just there. They don't care how you load the dishwasher.
Right.
They care that you're doing it with them.
That's right.
And so then you can ask questions about their life as you're doing the helping.
Yes.
It seems to open up that door of like, this is what's been going on. And
It does.
I think they would share more there than if
They
you
would.
try to pull them off to a side.
Absolutely. It's too threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had this one who came into my house and people say, can I help you? And I'm like, no, I got it. Because, I'm going to perform too. And I'm going to like be awesome. And I'm going to care for all of you.
Yeah.
And I do like doing that.
I am the host.
Yes. And he walks in and he goes, I'm helping you. Whether you like it or not, I'm helping you.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And he goes, so what am I going to do? And I was like, all right, get over here.
I'll let you lean into this for a little bit.
I was happy. I was like, this guy is not putting up with my barrier. Like he's also too.
Yeah.
So he was like, I read you.
Yeah.
I'm helping you. I was like,
Yeah.
all right.
Let's do this together.
Yeah. So for the type 3, you might hear them talking a lot about their accomplishments or name dropping or the name of a school or pedigree type stuff. I don't care what socioeconomic structure you're in. We all have things that we can do that sort of boost our sense of accomplishment. And so rather than being repulsed by that, being like, that guy's shallow or whatever, just be like, yeah, those are great accomplishments. Tell me about you, like on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
Because
what you do, who you are.
Yeah.
Oh,
and type 3s, they really want to be loved for who they are, not what they do. But it's an addictive, like all of these are, ways of doing things. I got to keep performing, and I'm only as good as my last accomplishment because you guys love me so much for this. So just kind of, even just standing there and showing presence and asking questions that are deeper, still acknowledging the accomplishments because they are amazing. But maybe, saying like, how have you used that to help other people?
Yeah.
Because when a 3 is healthy, they want to do that.
Yeah.
And it becomes, they actually have a line of connection with 6 where they get more team oriented. And they care more about the group and not just about them shining. They want everyone to shine.
Yeah.
So, find those lead in and have mercy when you see a lot of puffing up because they're feeling fragile.
Yeah.
The type 4, you got to go find them sometimes. They are, a lot of times they're kind of hiding away. They might be a little bit, the moods can shift, but they want to be pursued. They want to be noticed and asked about their creative endeavors, what they're doing, with someone who's truly interested. Or shown, oh, you're doing photography? Show me some of your work. Oh, I happen to. And then care. Even if you're social and you're kind of going around the room, 2 minutes of just true, talk to me about what you're up to and the realm of feelings. And, and also realize that sometimes they're just like not interested. They're too shut down. That's okay. Just sit with them because that's what they're great at doing. They're great at just sitting near them. So just sitting and watching a show or having coffee and just sitting with them.
Just observing the rest of the crowd.
Yeah. It's so nice to be with you.
Yeah.
Not like I loved our conversation, just so nice to be with them.
Yeah.
So, and that can depend. But the 5, again, we talked about this, and the last is figure out what they're interested in. And don't just let them, pour out all their deep knowledge and mastery of something, whatever it is. But try to jump in a little bit and ask good questions and learn something. And just enjoy participating with an expert who knows a lot about a lot. And that can be exciting. For the type 6, because type 6s can vary, and we're not going to go into the deeper teaching on all this, there are some type 6s that are more, they're visibly anxious. They're wanting everyone to be okay and to feel safe. And so just mirror a calmness. We have mirror neurons that when we look at someone and we kind of tune into them, we can actually help slow their heart rate as our heart rate slows. So if I have someone I know who's just always like, and I thought, oh, okay, this is hard. And so I just kind of get slower and calmer.
Bring your voice down a little.
Just to say, like, I love you, and I know what anxiety is about too. and maybe mine's running around on the inside like a hamster on a wheel, and yours is visible, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just want you to know I'm safe.
Yeah.
Like I am safe,
Mm-hmm.
and you're safe, and let's just enjoy this conversation.
Yeah.
Other type 6s are counterphobic, which means they're going to be like aggressive, actually. When they are anxious about something, so if they're in a social environment and they're feeling like, they might just sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
They'll use sarcasm. They might like pick a little fight. But underneath, they just want to be reassured that everything's okay. So that type will move toward anxiety to kind of prove that they're not anxious.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting type, but it's just calm.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, I enjoy being with you. And doing group activities, playing a game, watching a football game together. 6s tend to love sports a lot, and they like talking about it and engaging in it. So, again, just bringing that peaceful presence.
Yeah.
Type 7s, just ask them what their latest trip was.
And you're good.
You're good.
Yeah.
Or the latest restaurant, and why did you like it? Because they're Epicurean. They love the newest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or the latest movie.
Latest movie.
Yeah. Tell me, hey, I always want to know, you're the person I talk to, what are the good movies right now? Or what are the good shows on Netflix? And why do you like them?
Mm-hmm.
And what are you pumped about?
Yeah.
What are you excited about? What creative thing are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Ask them that. So we've kind of gone all the way around the wheel.
Yeah,
Nice job.
It's very helpful. I think, since we are not all experts, just thinking of the big three really helps, and just understanding that. But I didn't know it was going to go this way. I think really understanding yourself really matters a lot in all of that, and seeing that. I've learned that the more I learn about this, I look back on things, I was like, oh, that's how I was interacting at the 6. That's what I was doing, and why I that way, Early in ministry, I'm very counterphobic, so I go into it, so I can be very gregarious, use a lot of humor, and I used to do that a lot more even than I do now. So I used to do that a lot more. And Katie's looking at me like, you're still that way. Like, no, I used to do that a lot more. Like, I used to be so anxious and stuff, but it's like, when I crawl into myself before service, before something, I'd be going somewhere doing like jumping jacks. Like, I thought I had excitement and energy until I learned myself, and I was like, oh, that's anxiety. So I'm really nervous about things. So to be able to be okay with that. Learning yourself is, I think, the biggest thing in all of this. That then helps you with the other ones.
It
helps
does.
you.
It is an outflow, but it really does need to start with. And really, when Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, we focus so much on love your neighbor, and that's important.
Right.
But if you're loving your neighbor as you love yourself, how are you loving yourself?
Yeah. Well, most of us don't forgive ourselves well. Most of us don't do this way.
No.
But to really love yourself, I don't know if I've preached on that, but I've spoken on that before, that the hardest part of that is loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just because I'm a 6, but like the hardest part of that is loving yourself. Or wherever you are, you go, oh, this could be, if you're unhealthy in any of these, you're like, oh, that's hard for me.
Yeah. And we're taught as Christians to be humble and to put other people first.
Yeah. And loving yourself doesn't mean you're selfish. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
But how can you help somebody if you're unhealthy?
You are going to take your framework and put it on them.
Exactly.
As a parent, as a boss, as a coworker, that's what's going to happen. And a lot of that is shame-based.
Yeah.
Because shame is, it's certainly in the heart center, but we all have a heart center.
We all have a heart center.
So another way to look at this too is like, my gut is like what I know intuitively. My heart is, anytime I'm feeling something, that number is what's coming online. And anytime I'm thinking, that number is what's coming online.
Right.
So it's our style in all three of those sectors. But yeah, it is realizing that as we learn to know ourselves, because who are you with your whole life? Yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself. So who even am I?
Yeah.
Who even am I? Lord, who am I?
Who have you created me to be?
And it's not what I do.
Mm-mm.
It's an outflow. But what is my identity?
That's what I think is why some of the biggest like business leader speakers and stuff, and they talk about business, they say, well, business, it just talks about what they do or how they do it. It doesn't do very well. It keeps, even to the business sense, not even person sense, it's the purpose, the why, the who are we. They may have the same product as others, but they're so much more successful, not because they don't share what they're doing, they share who they are.
That's right.
And it's totally different, but you have to learn for yourself. Who am I?
You do.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
How does that
What is my
process?
gifting?
Yeah. and then learning about that, I think is the most helpful part.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a worthy endeavor.
I agree. I think that's really well said, and I think we bring ourselves into everything we do, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
And I think it's beginning to realize it. And again, you can take all this and make this a striving exercise. Mm-hmm. And I will say type 1s might be more prone, or 3s. Okay, now I'm gonna do all these. I'm gonna do this, and it's like, no. It's so easy for all of us to want to do that, and that's why sometimes knowledge puffs up.
Yeah.
But this is more of a humbling thing. This is a seeing where we need God, and where we can accept ourselves. And I love when Jesus says the Father's looking for those who worship in spirit and truth. Sometimes that word is reality.
Yeah.
Worshiping in what's real. What's really true about me?
Yeah.
What's really true about you?
Yeah. And
let's begin to accept that and work with that. And enjoy life. Let's enjoy life. Let's enjoy the party. Let's enjoy the family gathering. Let's enjoy our lives. Yeah. There's enough suffering, but there's enjoyment every day. And we can enjoy a party even when it doesn't meet all our expectations. People don't help. The food got burned. Aunt Jane said the same old thing that is annoying to everyone. Yeah. Because I think what we know if we've lost people too is like, I'm going to savor and cherish this. We only live once. Yeah. We know God's going to regenerate and renew the world. And for those who trust in Him, we're going to live on this earth, and the renewal of all things is coming. Praise God for all that. Eternity. Yeah, and that's going to be our perfect holiday party. Yeah. Forever and ever. Yeah. We know. Woo-hoo! That's true. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's just, if you are healthy, then you can help others become healthy. And it reminds me of, people often talk about not judging others, because remember, I think you mentioned it earlier, or maybe last episode, about, the sty in your eye and the log in your eye and the sty in your eye. But if you actually take that, what Jesus was saying there, He doesn't say, don't judge your brother.
That's right.
Actually, He says, first, make yourself healthy, which is the harder part. Yeah. Get the little speck out of whatever the thing out of it, but you have to recognize it's there, be able to pull it, all those things. Yeah. Then judge your brother. But the judging there is more like, let me help you be healthy.
That's right.
As opposed to like judging as in you're wrong. I think there's a different aspect, because once I've done that to myself, I believe, same with love yourself, as you love your neighbor as yourself. Once I've done that to myself, I now approach you with more grace, more mercy.
You do. And yourself with that.
And yourself, and the reality of like, I'm a human being that's messed up, and God is graceful to me, so I'm going to bring that into this.
Yes, and the power of His grace.
That's
the power of His grace. Yeah. It's a power that says, become who I made you to be, now go and flourish. Yeah. And we can bring that grace to every space that we're in. Knowing this, again, you can take this and you can bludgeon everyone with it, and yourself. And you can turn this into some exercise and mechanics of, becoming the best at this.
Right.
That is just the way it is with all tools. It's neutral. Right. But it can also just become a roadmap for grace.
Yeah.
Grace for me, grace for you, grace for the fact that we're all on common ground.
Yeah.
We're all on common ground. So not one of us. So it is empowering.
Right. So I don't want to cut you off.
We're good.
Okay. So take the time more this holiday season, even into the next year, to more, I would say, get to know yourself.
Yeah.
Make it a New Year's resolution.
Make it a New Year's resolution to think through this and begin to see how that works out and get to know yourself. Whether you use this or not, I like this one a lot because it's a little, like I said, it's deeper, it's more to that base, and it does drive us to who Christ is and that perfection that we'll never meet. But the healthier parts of all of this, this can be very useful as we interact with each other, or just as I bring grace and mercy to people.
That's right.
Because God operates in grace, but He's asking you to be His conduit. You to be the mercy, that's why He calls us to go make disciples. That's right. And we operate that way. So I would just say for anybody else, just take more time, spend the next 5 years looking at this, or 2 days, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a journey, just like discipleship is. The more you learn yourself.
It's ongoing.
Yeah. And get to know yourself and be okay with where God has you.
That's right.
And His grace and mercy. Is that fair?
Yes.
I think that's good.
Excellent.
All right. Awesome. Well, hopefully you have some better gatherings or good gatherings and celebrate. But we would just say get to know yourself over this season and allow God's grace to flow through you in that. So until next time, have a great week.
Bye.